For better or for worse, I think some of us knew that this video was going to come at one point or another. Before I begin, let me say that I do not hate the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, so before somebody assumes that I hate their favorite game, you have been disclaimed. Now, throughout this channel's history, I've seldom made some FNAF-related content. I played the first game for about 2 videos until I expressed how mundane the concept was and how I personally didn't enjoy it. I played the third game and definitely didn't enjoy it, and I ended up playing some fan games and really enjoyed those. But my history goes deeper than that. As much as I claim to not like these games, don't worry, that's still true, I actually do not like the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise as a whole. I actually did enjoy the second title. Back when I was recording SOG files, I have to admit, I did end up playing through the second title and really appreciate it for what it was. Say what you will about these games being cheap and nothing but YouTube bait, I won't disagree with you on that. But Five Nights at Freddy's definitely earned some respect in bringing something fresh to the horror genre to an extent. Now, looking at Five Nights at Freddy's 2, I felt the micromanaging style of the game was far more in player control, and that strategy was a must in the game. The tension was real, and save for a few moments that really felt full of cheese, was at an all-time low. And I felt a rush as I slowly climbed my way through each day, rather night I guess, in this title, and adding custom night options where you got to change the AI level and whatnot, and you got a pretty replayable game at this point. But it was obvious to me and many other people, many fans of the franchise even, that this was the peak of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. With the sequel being weak and the sequel to that even being weaker, it seemed that Five Nights at Freddy's was coming to an end. After releasing the games in rapid succession, within the time span of just a year, it felt that the series needed to either end or do something to revitalize itself. Well, shortly after the 4th game released, we were treated to a teaser trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's World, and boy was it something. An RPG set in a new universe with all the FNAF characters present, that is something. Many people were confused, but fans swore that this would be amazing. Honestly, I was excited. As cringy as it looked, me being a lover of RPGs was, well, interested. I never showed it because I wanted to keep my hype low, and honestly, I'm not a Five Nights at Freddy's fan as I have stated. So while I was excited to play it, I also really didn't give 2 flying fucks if it came out or not. As time rolled on, people theorized what the game may have been, and many said that it would have a darker side to it than it would have initially let on, and that really did pique my interest. A dark RPG, fourth wall breaking potentially. At that point, you have me hooked. Now all was not well in the past few days. Releasing out of nowhere, Five Nights at Freddy's World was available on Steam, and while many reviewers pushed it to an overwhelmingly positive score, the written reviews were a whole different story. Ouch. So I decided to spend $10 and face it. Honestly, when I initially did play it on livestream, I could only last 20 minutes before it physically started to hurt me. And no, I'm not just saying that. This game actually physically started to hurt my brain. I just couldn't comprehend what I was playing. Not in a good way, in a very bad way. Now, I challenged myself to find one good thing, and I did. Sassy rats. Me and my friends could only find sassy rats. Literally, these enemies just make me have a giggle, Matey9, and seriously, that was all I could find. Sassy rats. I'm not even joking there, that is literally the redeeming quality of this entire game. You know it has problems when that is the only thing that redeems it. Five Nights at Freddy's World ships with the most barebone of RPG components. A battle system simplified even worse than Final Fantasy XIII. You have an overworld and Atari-style visuals while also being harder to navigate, seriously. You always run into these wall issues, you're always clipping around all over the place, and it wasn't reminiscent of the teaser at all. Then you have difficulty spikes that make no sense. Seriously, walk into a cave and the enemies are like fucking 300 times harder to fight. You have a story that makes no sense. Literally, I felt like it went nowhere, and that's a big sin in an RPG, by the way. When you have a story that doesn't drive you anywhere, then what the hell are you doing? Then you got random bosses that you can recruit that really don't have a pattern to them. You can recruit, all the FNAF characters like Shadow Freddy or Nightmare Bonnie or whatever you want, and none of them do have a pattern. You just encounter them randomly, and new challengers appeared, and you just fight them, and eventually, after a long battle of endurance, you end up recruiting these characters, which, again, come with their own movesets, but at the end of the day, they boil down to the same exact moveset another character would have. They literally are split into classes, I guess you could say, you know, like healer classes or damage dealing classes or area of effect classes, I guess you could say. But other than that, the characters, to me, don't really have their own personality, which is a grave sin in a game such as Five Nights at Freddy's World, when it really is centered around those characters that have pretty much become a hallmark of the series itself. I mean, you have a battle system where literally, again, as long as you have one character spamming heals for the general party, by the way, that's, you can either have a choice if you want to heal one character, I guess, or the entire party. And by the way, I don't think you even get to pick the character you want to heal. You don't even get to pick the character you want to attack. You just hit a key and it just attacks a random character. That's all it is. It's a fast-paced RPG, I guess you could say. And that's about it. There really doesn't seem to be a strategy to it whatsoever. You can add things such as bites, you know, little perks to your characters. You can even buy a bee that will constantly do damage as time goes on, and that's it. The game really doesn't have those intricacies that an RPG should. It's just click, 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 click. Make sure you're clicking the right thing. You only have 3 options, and boom, that's about it. Then you go to the sound, and it's just the same repetitive loops and sound effects, and literally the game uses stock RPG Maker sounds. Hell, sounds that exist even in fan games such as Five Nights at Fuckboys and its sequel. And for a game which releases in 2016 no less, shitting itself as soon as you hit escape? Are you serious? Are you serious, man? Clearly, he is serious. And very clearly, this is unfinished. And series creator Scott Cawthon agrees, and even apologizing, giving this statement while doing so. And I'm going to read it to you, so sit back, relax, and let me read his statement. Hi everyone. This isn't exactly an announcement that I'm enjoying writing, but it's one that I feel I owe to the community. You know, I've been accused of rushing my games ever since FNAF 1. But I've never felt that I'd released a game too early. ... Until now. There are a lot of features that this game should have had before release, features that I was told about, but ignored, and didn't implement. Features such as being able to see what abilities do during battle, or being able to see a stat page for your characters. These are features that any good RPG would have. I got too eager to show the things that were finished, that I neglected to pay attention to the things that weren't. I'm going to fix this, and I'll be updated the game with these features in the coming weeks. So I say this to a community that I've enjoyed and respected for over 1.5 years now. I'm sorry. I will continue to add features to the game and make it right. My God. My God. Well, let's go over this. Rushing games? Yes, it was rushed. The whole paragraph about RPGs should have stat pages, that's been here for quite a long time. That's a hallmark of an RPG. That's supposed to be there. Okay? Now, the point where you're eager to show things that are finished, but other things that aren't, kind of irks me. As a video editor, I too work for long hours on producing content for numerous clientele. Sure, it's not as, I mean, it's rigorous in other ways versus, you know, game production. While I am eager to show what I do, the last thing I want is unfinished work to come through cracks, shown to any kind of masses, whether it be private or public. So I don't feel you too much on that one, but that's just my personal opinion. You know, this game is garbage. It really is. I don't mean to be vehement, but I found no redeeming quality other than sassy rats, and that's not really redeeming quality. And I can almost find something for any game that I play. And the reason I'm like this is because I was excited to play this. I really was. A potentially dark RPG set in this unique universe, it excites me. It excites any RPG gamer, to be honest. And while I expected to get a game with some production value, all I got was a Flash game. And that's what really, really, really triggers me. But while I rip on this title, the thing that pisses me off the most is while you have 4 games, and sure, one of them is the peak, I get it. They all could stand on their own legs. This was a game that would use these characters and deliver us an RPG. RPGs take time and effort. Okay, they take a lot of time. You know, say what you will about the other games, but their production requirement is a fraction of what a lengthy, multiple hour experience that is an RPG that would take. And that's where I think this game faced many of its dilemma. The thing that really irks me is Scott Cawthon is an individual that really puts effort into what he does. You know, I don't think anybody's here to make the argument that Five Nights at Freddy's is a shitty game. Say what you will, okay, that's subjective. But for games to be this popular, they have to be doing something right, and I think the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise has done something right. But this is a developer that cares about what he does, and it takes balls to apologize like that. That statement I read, I was a little sarcastic there, but I will be honest, it takes balls to do that. So congratulations, Scott Cawthon, for really owning up to what you did, and to at least make amends. I wish I could pat you on the back for that, you deserve it, bro. But you are a game developer that has talent, that has put time and effort into it. You know, when his games weren't selling, and he used to make Bible religious games that didn't hit the mark at all, that just never got attention. For him to keep putting time and effort into it, and when your product doesn't get the attention that you think it should deserve, that is probably the most demoralizing feeling it is for a content creator. But it's also demoralizing for the community that puts so much effort into playing these games. You know, FNAF fans are probably some of the most intense fans out there, and all the time I get told to play a Five Nights at Freddy's game. But I don't. I'm not too into those games. This one, I was a little into, but it all got shattered. This is a person that I know can make a good game, but they shit out something like this. So while you did apologize, it is pretty sad that this even happened. And what makes it even sad is that there's other developers out there that would wish to be in this position. You know, I was playing a game called Deus Ex. Well, there's a group, Caustic Creative, who basically rebuilt the original Deus Ex. And sure, a lot of people can say, oh, they didn't make the game from scratch, it's a mod. I get it. I know that as well. They sat there and basically rebuilt this game down to its level structure, down to the way it even plays, and that's pretty impressive. You know, and these people didn't charge one dime. And that's impressive. That is really, really, really sweet of them to do. You know, great job. If you haven't played Deus Ex, get the game original, okay? Now that I've mentioned it, somebody is probably installing it, and get the revision mod on Steam. Trust me, it changes the game. But there's developers creating titles like this. There's developers out there creating games on numerous engines, little tiny games. Hell, just look at the Japanese independent game market. Those guys are crazy when it comes to developing stuff. And all of them wish they could be in this position, but they're not. And that's what's really insulting. You know, this game, it may not have hit me as much as true dedicated fans of the franchise, you know, have been hit. They've been waiting for this game, and for them to get this, it's kind of insulting. You know, if Metal Gear came out with a piece of crap game, with no effort put into it, I'd be pissed. Likewise, if a Deus Ex game came out, I'd also be pissed. If a Legend of Zelda game came out that was completely piss poor broken like this, and really lacking in content, I think Zelda fans would be pissed, and FNAF fans have a right to be angry. This was their franchise, and it got pissed away. So while I did rip on the game, I do give a lot of props to Scott Cawthon for at least apologizing for the mistake. And the reason I want to also make this video is because I do have people asking me to play Five Nights at Freddy's. There's a facet of the ordinary gamer community that really likes Five Nights at Freddy's, and I think as somebody who makes videos, you know, who is asked to play these games, I do always want to make it abundantly clear. Do not buy Five Nights at Freddy's World. Don't do it. It's a mistake. You're wasting $10. Dude, you could get Deus Ex for $7. I know I'm plugging Deus Ex a lot, but I love the game, okay? I'm sorry. I've been playing it a lot recently. But you could buy a lot more games with those $10 that are far more better, far more complete experiences than this one title. So for anybody that was thinking of buying FNAF World, do not do it. Don't give the money to an unfinished game that sells itself as a complete title but is worse than half the early access shit on the market. Be wary. And I think I'm going to end the video over here. I've been talking about this for about 15 minutes. So, that was really all I had to say on Five Nights at Freddy's World. It kind of triggers me, but that being said, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it, and please share your opinion on what you think about this game in the comments section below. This is me, Mudahar, and I think I've said my piece. I've got to start taking my medication now. I am out.